Okay, it's going. So,
Okay.
welcome everybody. Here's episode 1 of Against the Grain. This is going to be our podcast, me and my dad. We'd like to get guests on here. We're just going to start out with us two, talk about hunting, see where it goes from there, basically. It's just going to be just an easy podcast to listen to, nothing technical, just talking hunting. Uh, Basically, the way we want.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, really, what I want to, on the beginning like this, because I'm getting ready to go to Kentucky. Uh, August 31st, I leave. So for opening day, their opening day opens up September 1st. And I guess what I want to talk to you more or less about is what to bring, and so I don't have to pack too much because I am flying. So anybody that's ever flown on an airplane, and as far as bringing stuff, trying to keep it to a limit.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we're just gonna start out, any announcements, and then we'll have a topic that we talk about, and then we're gonna close every podcast with a hunting story, and I think we'll have some good hunting stories. I think that'll be one of the better parts of this podcast.
The
So
only thing I've got to do is make sure, like I said, I'm going to try to go back to kind of the beginning, and bring my stories up to date, so I don't
yeah,
kind of
but
repeat myself.
yeah, true. We'll keep a record of what we've talked about, I guess.
Yeah, how it all kind of started.
Yeah, so the topic, I guess we'll start off. We'll start off basically. We know hunting season's starting for a lot of people. It's starting for you September 1st. You're going to Kentucky, and I know most places open up around this time. So, as everybody's kind of getting ready for hunting season, what do we think are like some of the most important things? And maybe if we start, we'll figure out some things that people maybe are too worried about that aren't too important. So, let's see, like
Well,
what's one big
yeah,
thing? Yeah,
like you trying to me, it's practice,
yeah,
so I'm prepared for when the hunt starts. Because, and I think a lot of people, what they do, they focus more on the hunt than they do on practicing. And when the season comes, they kind of just jump into it. I mean, they do a lot of scouting. All of a sudden, about a month or two before the season, everybody starts scouting. I mean, I got a friend of mine here that hunts in Texas, and he wonders why he doesn't kill really any big deer, or his his deer sightings is down to a minimal, because he more or less does the same thing every year. I mean, a few weeks, a month before the season, he infiltrates the woods, and here they go. They start filling their feeders, and boom! It's, to me, if you can, if you're going to do that, do it. You want it. I would wait. I'd almost wait. It sounds crazy. Maybe a week or two before the season,
that's what I'm saying.
because
Almost like scouting. I think that could be one of the things people do a little too much at the start because a month into the season, those are different deer.
yeah,
I mean, this
and they
summer pattern.
they educate them, and they do the same thing every year. They go in, I mean, and it's pretty ironic, especially here in Texas. I mean, a lot of the hunting is done out of ground blinds, and it's pretty weird how a deer can step out of the woods, and that ground blind's been there a long time. You shooting houses, and a deer look right at it. They're waiting for the guy in it, because obviously now they smell it. I mean, they've been coming there all summer. Nobody's there. Pretty much our season here in Texas closes January 1st. In some areas it's open a little longer, but on the most part, and people are gone. And all of a sudden, you know, a lot of guys I talk to, even where I shoot at the archer at this range over here in North Texas, I don't see nobody year round. I mean, I shoot year round, and I don't
Yeah.
see nobody. And here it is, a couple of weeks before the season, uh, they the place gets infiltrated. All of a sudden, everybody starts shooting, and they wonder, and then all of a sudden you hear the stories, how I missed or this or that, and that's, to me, is the same thing about getting prepared.
So
You know,
basically, what I think, like, if you're getting ready for hunting season, the biggest thing is practice shooting, expect bow hunting. We're talking bow hunting. This podcast is bow hunting. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing is practice shooting. If you haven't scouted, you're fine.
Yeah. You're
I
right. I'd
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 spend my
rather
time
be
shooting.
yeah, I'd rather be a good shot, a better shot than I am, you know, a good scouter.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
because
it sounds ignorant,
but
but I'd rather,
if you were scouting a month ago, those you just were infiltrating the woods almost for no reason. You could see what you
yeah,
got. You could put up. Best bet is to just if you got them, you put up trail cameras, try and get an
yeah,
idea of what's around, and that's really about it. I wouldn't wait. I mean, you can tell, you see these runs or everything else, and as soon as the weather breaks, these deer are
yeah, they're gonna,
completely different.
yeah. I mean, even where I'm going in Kentucky, these deer are in velvet, and they're in bachelor groups, and the good part about it, it's it's opening. This is the earliest it's ever opened in Kentucky,
Yeah, so you're gonna get a
and
jump on them.
yeah, and usually what happens is some deer are in velvet, some aren't. And so that means they're starting to break up. But now they're all in velvet, so they're going to be together. You're going to
Hmm.
see, we should see a bunch of good bucks together. If one comes out, unless we blow them out of there, and that's the advantage. And the cool part, there isn't many states that way where you get the advantage of going for a velvet buck. But luckily, I got lucky and met a guy that lives in Kentucky, and I have that. Anybody else? I mean, if you're looking for, maybe to shoot a velvet buck, look into Kentucky. It's like,
Is Indiana
we're
open
opening.
later?
Yeah, Indiana opens up in October.
Okay.
Same thing here
In
in
October.
Texas.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
We open up in October. I mean, there's some, and I'm not sure. There might be some, but I know it's later on in September. If it is even September, it might be. And there's a lot of states where I hunted in New Jersey. It was October 1st, so you were no way unless it was something happened to that deer. I mean, they do kill a deer in velvet, but it's just a fluke.
Hmm.
But so that's why I'm so excited about this season here, and to get my opportunity at a good one. And plus it's a good time to shoot your does because they're together. I mean, they're all together, and Kentucky. What makes it nice too? You're allowed to bait. And between that, I mean, they come to the corn, even though there's plenty of food, and the acorns haven't started falling yet.
Hmm.
So that's to your advantage. Because as soon as those acorns start falling, yeah, I mean, I know I'm kind of jumping here, but when the acorns start falling, then it jumps to another, episode as far as the deer season's
Yeah.
concerned.
So almost while you're scouting, even now, you should be looking up at acorns,
Yeah, exactly.
looking
Find
for
your
oak trees.
your yeah, find your good white
You're
oaks.
better off looking.
Your
You're better off. You'll probably kill a deer better if you find an oak tree than if you find like a run where you see them going, because that's just going to be over with.
Yeah, and they're going to start, as the season changes, they're going to start focusing on different things. I mean, as soon as the season starts, then they come out of their velvet, then they change again. They break up.
Yeah.
So now they're on their own more or less, but they're looking for food. Now they turn instead of bachelor groups. Now they're going to start concentrating on waiting for the acorns to start dropping. So I mean, they can vacate the whole area.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
If there's
I mean,
acorns somewhere else.
yeah, and even without I mean, because they're going to break up. These bucks aren't going to want to be around each other no more. So that buck, like we were saying in the beginning, you got to be careful you're scouting because that buck you're looking at, when that velvet falls off, the the if there's a real good buck in a group, he's going to bust them up. So
Yeah,
that
but
other one you were looking at, or even the big one, could leave. He could say,
yeah,
"I ain't
but
tolerating."
I would think the big one would more than likely stay.
Yeah, he could, but
But you never
sometimes,
know.
yeah, but sometimes, like in Kentucky, we've had it where the big one was gone, and all of a sudden he showed up on the other end of the farm. I'm talking 1,000 acres, and this thing decided,
Or he's
and there
just
was no,
gone.
Yeah, he just decided
I mean,
he
they
didn't
could
want to
see a
be a.
deer in the summer on a trail camera and never see him again. That's not
I mean,
uncommon.
you're 100% right because and a lot of the deer that they kill out there or anybody kills out there, they never seen it. It's pretty ironic, you know. It's like, where'd that deer come from?
Yeah, I mean
So
that's a lot different than these people with every deer's got a name.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, when these guys are doing it, I mean, to me, that like going back now to what you should contemplate. To me, a lot what you see is so unrealistic. I
Yeah,
mean, as far as some of these videos you see and stuff like that. I mean, you understand nobody can hunt it.
yeah.
I mean, this guy. I
I
mean, you
mean
watch, and I'm not.
they regulate the food where these deer don't want to leave.
Oh yeah, I mean, they put a. I mean, if you put a ton of money into a food plot, I
Big
mean, it's like
ones.
putting, having sirloin steak at your house every day. Christ Almighty, nobody's going to leave your house. You know, that's. It's almost the same. If you give the deer exactly what they want, they got it down to a science. I mean, they got biologists coming. They got, they know what the deer want. They're not
Yeah,
going to leave.
yeah.
But in the
Yeah, but that's
real
that's TV land.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, when we're out there in the real world, I mean, they're gonna, regardless, they're gonna start searching for food. So,
I mean, you
I mean, you
never
want,
know what happens. You never know a group of deer gets spooked by a bunch of coyotes,
yeah,
and all of a sudden
exactly,
they're
and that
gone. They're on another farm.
so, so it gets back to you want to scout obviously because you don't want to you don't want to hunt a, a dead area. I mean, where you're like, okay, I'm hunting an area where yeah, I got some does in it, and I mean, so you do, but usually that comes with time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to find that the first week, and that's why even scouting should be year round. I mean, your some of your best scouting should be late, when hunting season closes, as soon as it closes, because you obviously know that's where the deer are going to end up. So you're just trying to figure out that puzzle about where they started feeding in the summer and where he's going to end up in the winter, and kind of work your way along with them. And that's to me what successful hunters, these guys that kill big deer every year, they figured that out. They put the time in.
Yeah, and
You
the
know,
key, I mean, scouting, that's a lot. There's a lot to go in with scouting, and I think a key is when you scout, smart scouting. You know what I mean? You want to do the least amount
yeah,
in the woods and get the most information. Because the key is, I mean, you'd be surprised and you'd be like, oh, this guy's never scouted. He just walked in and set up his tree stand. And yeah, he
and
didn't
boom,
know where he was, but at least he never spooked the area.
exact. And I mean, and we've all heard it. Usually the first time you sit it is your best, and
Yeah.
it isn't just. And that ain't luck.
No,
I hope
more
you
than,
don't think, oh
yeah,
man, that was luck.
exactly. You're probably not in the right spot, but it's still better
No,
to be in the wrong spot in a non-spooked area than in the perfect spot where you already stunk it up.
exactly. And because the deer have figured you out, and going back to why I believe in practice is so important, because just because I mean you could hit the mother lode. I mean you could say, God Almighty, man, I hit the Holy Grail as far as where these deer are at, but only one problem: I'm a sucky shot.
And they
I
know,
really have. Yeah. So you kind of, I'd rather have that one opportunity and be able to connect on it than 10 opportunities and I blew them.
yeah,
I'm
exactly,
like,
exactly. Because I
so
mean, no matter how good you scout, if you take a shot and you miss, there's a good
yeah,
chance you're never ever seeing that deer again.
exactly. There's your one opportunity. And a lot of times, and for a lot of guys out there, it's not this stuff you see on TV where they get, I blew it today, I get an opportunity tomorrow. Usually you blow it today, you're done. I mean, as far as that opportunity for that deer, and if that was the one on your bucket list, man, you're like, God darn it. So, and when the reason why I feel practice is so important, and when I go shoot and I see it a lot, these guys will shoot a little bit and go, God, look at my groups. I see it on Facebook. I see it on YouTube a ton. They show groups. Yeah, of course your group is good. I mean, the guy's holding extra long on a target because he could. There's no time limit. I mean, he can hold
Yeah, you
forever
got
on a
the
target.
perfect stance and everything else. Like, you should
Yeah,
stand like you're in a
yeah,
tree stand.
yeah. I see him moving the rocks out underneath his feet. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? They
yeah,
square up. The guy's holding his bow, and his first round he might have shot after. This is just using as an example. He might have shot in 3 seconds, and the group wasn't that good. So the next time he said, "Oh, I got to hold long," and he goes a whole long, boom. But then the fourth round, he shot again. So what I'm saying, when you get into that hunting, when all this, that's why you've got to practice. Because what happens, you get that routine is, you draw your bow, you lock on. You lock in. You got that clock that goes off your head, boom, and it's the same every time, and it's boom, and that's why you see these guys like your Cameron Haynes and guys like that are so precise because he could and I found it for myself. I can literally probably, and I've seen guys do this where they throw their bow with their eyes closed and shoot it. I mean, I'm talking like 20 yards because the arrow's going to fly right where, and because your muscle memory is so good, it's going to go almost when you draw your bow. What cracks me up is when I see these guys, they're draw in the beginning, and I mean, some of these guys that just decide to pick their bow up a week before the season, they're looking for the peep sight. I
yeah.
mean, what are you looking for? It
So
should
bas-
come
so
right
basically, what we're saying is the key is practice. What you
practice.
should be
Yeah,
doing before hunting season is practice. If you haven't
yeah,
started shooting, it's not too late, but I recommend you
yeah,
should have already started.
exactly.
But
Kick
the
it up.
earlier the better, and you should practice
Yeah,
because basically you want to make that one opportunity count. Don't
yeah,
worry about getting 10 opportunities. Worry more about getting that one opportunity count. Because no matter how good a scouting, how good your land is, anything,
yeah,
you might only get one chance.
yeah. And
I
that's
mean, you
what you
might get
almost
no
have.
chances. That's the whole thing of hunting.
But that's what hunting is. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like you said, that one opportunity. Well, really, that's all it ever comes down to is that 1 megasecond. You could have hours in a tree, and I know this sounds ignorant. You can have hours, but it only comes down to that split second when you shoot. So if you get in practice for that one moment, and you thought, oh, I'll be all right. Well, that one moment is it.
Yeah.
I mean, okay,
And if you
and
got
it's
the opportunity, if you're able to, you should practice shooting out of your tree stand. Setting that up
yeah.
in the backyard is always good. I mean, if you can, depending on where you're at, just practice. Now that we're getting closer to hunt, also make your practice count and practice like you hunt.
Yeah, you know, what am I saying? Don't practice longer. Practice smarter.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, I do it. I practice a lot because I like that muscle memory, and it helps me. It helps me lock in everything. I do the same thing over and over again, and my shooting has got 10 times better because of that. But I also only shoot 1 or 2 arrows, so it forces me to shoot smarter.
mm-hmm.
Because I concentrate on every shot. And then again, like I said, I go to these at a range and I see guys shooting 5, 6, 8 arrows, and like, why are you doing that? Well, I mean, what's that? I mean, the more arrows down there, the bigger the target, and you're compensating. I mean, if one arrow is a little right, even though it's real close to the target, it's ironic how the other one's right next to it to the left. I mean, they're walking them in,
Yeah,
and then they go and they look at it and they go, "Boy, look at my group; it's tight as hell." Well, wait a minute. The first one, was a little out, and all you did was compensate for it.
and
And
so basically, I think like months ago, sure, if you're in the middle of summer and you're shooting with your buddies, shoot 10 arrows if you want to.
yeah,
But now
okay,
that we're
yeah,
getting closer to hunting season, you should be making your practice count. And I think it is better to shoot 1 or 2 arrows at a time. Because, I
yeah,
mean,
almost like a now you're in hunting mode, not
exactly.
like practice
But
mode.
if
Now
you're,
you're
yeah, there's nothing wrong with a bunch of guys sitting around and shooting a bunch of arrows. Because,
oh no, and I mean it's still good.
yeah,
You're still getting practice, and
and it's more
no matter.
fun. I mean, gotta admit, it's more fun than shooting two and walking down to the target
Oh
every time.
yeah, oh yeah, you're right. I get a heck of a workout.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing. I mean, I know this is kind of late to be bringing it up, but getting yourself in shape, because hunting is more than just sitting down in a ground blind or sitting in a tree stand. Remember, you got to get to that ground blind, you got to get up into that tree stand, and if you can get yourself in somewhat shape, you're going to make that moment of truth. Even when you get out there, if you shoot a deer and you can't get to it with your four wheeler or your side by side, you're going to have to drag it out. You're going to get out, or you're going to do some scouting. You don't want to sound like a locomotive going through the woods,
Yeah.
because you can't walk 100 feet.
Yeah, and you're
dying.
dragging your feet and stepping on every branch known to man.
Yeah. Yeah, you're about as stealth as a bulldozer going through the woods.
I mean, that's a key while you're scouting. If we're going back to scouting, you should be making as little noise, as little intrusion as possible.
Exactly.
That's the key.
You're right, and you're so with that. I mean, it's really important, because a lot of people, you see them scouting, they're walking through the woods talking.
They got their sneakers on and everything else. I mean, it makes sense. Put your boots on that are more scent free, that you've kept as scent free as possible. Keep everything. Your camouflage. I mean, it makes sense to put your camouflage on, because that's your scent free clothes. You're walking through in shorts and a t-shirt with cologne on. You might find where they're at, but they're gonna come through there and be like, "Oh, well, now the people are here, and now we're gone."
Yeah, here you go, boom! Now their clock is going off. I mean, now you're educating them to, okay, it's that time of the year again. They're gonna start. All of a sudden, that same deer that you had on your trail camera, the last month or two, that's been showing up, or maybe 2 or 3 months ago, that's been showing up every day at clockwork, and all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute. All I did was go out there, fill my feeders every week, check my camera every week, walked around here now, and all of a sudden that deer just turned nocturnal. Oh, here he goes again. And I heard a guy talking about that. He said, remember one thing, deer do not turn nocturnal because they say, oh man, I gotta eat in the dark now. He turns nocturnal because he knows you're there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the more we talk about this, if you're hunting a piece of land where you've hunted for years, and you know a good spot in the beginning of the year, your best bet is probably just go hunt it. Don't even go. Don't even. Just, like, oh, down in this creek bottom, it was good a couple years ago. It's normally good earlier in the year. Just go hunt it.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing. I mean, if you want, get in there, put a trail camera in there, get out.
Yeah.
And let it sit there a while. Go back maybe on a rainy day where everything could mask everything you do. And I remember, like, we were talking, you and I, saying maybe go in the woods. If you got turkeys in there, go in there, like you were saying, with a turkey call.
Yeah, I think that's key. That's like a thing we've been talking about. Like, one of my buddies figured that out or was talking about it, and I think it makes a lot of sense. If you're walking through the woods, grab a turkey call, just make a couple sounds. Because those deer hear you walking around, and just make a couple sounds. Yeah. They'll hear it, be like, oh, turkeys, and just forget about it. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly, and it's just you're trying. It's like a Rubik's cube. You're trying to figure this thing out, which is the deer. I mean, you're trying to think like a deer, how ignorant that sounds, but you're like, okay, you're trying to deter him. That's all you can do, like we talked about. It isn't. You're never gonna fake him completely out, because he's living for his life. I mean, you're going out there.
And like I know you told me one time too. It's like going through somebody's living room. You might move a cup, or move. And when I say a cup, basically to them that's like a branch or whatever. And you look at it, you don't see anything. But if somebody walked in your living room and slid the couch over, you'd notice in a second.
Yeah, as soon as you walked in the house, you're like,
somebody's been here. I don't care if they just walk through and they can't even tell they did anything.
I mean, Dick, my buddy out in Kentucky, he told me one time he broke a branch. You could believe this or not. And I've had things like this happen to me. He broke a branch. He said, Alan, I busted a branch and threw it on the ground, and it landed by the barbed wire fence. And this buck came down 2 days later. And he said, I was drilling this deer. Here he comes. So I cut the branch out of my way. It was 2 days prior to this. And he said he stuck his nose in it, turned around and walked away. And he said, it's the same branch I grabbed and put it there. And it's like, so he knew. I did it. I threw a, I mean, mine was within hours, but I cut a branch one time, threw it on the ground, had a deer come up, put his nose on it, smell it, and back up. And I mean, I know that was only hours, but his was days, and he still knew it. You
Your
know, that
best bet is wear
like
gloves.
exactly, and do everything you can to mask your odor and everything, but you can't,
No.
then you hear about I won't get into this now. We could talk about this in another episode, like your ozonics and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And you start like,
Scent killer.
okay,
Yeah, that's a whole nother story for sure.
yeah, we could get into that later, and I'd like to have people join in when we do that because that's a discussion that, like talking about a Chevy to a Ford or a Chevy
Yeah.
to a Dodge. I
People
mean,
have their opinions.
yeah, and I'm not saying they're not right, but I just like to hear them and how they feel about it. But like I said, we'll talk about that in another one.
Yeah. Well, we've been going pretty good. We got like 25 minutes.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty good. We want to do a hunting story to close this out, and we can see what we got.
Okay. Let me.
I'm sure you got. Yeah, you got enough.
God, I got a minute. What's?
Yeah.
Should I start like one?
I don't think it doesn't have to be like at the beginning or anything like that. I think you just. I'm sure you. We'll talk about early season. So you got any like deer you killed really like first day out? I don't know if you got any like
Gosh,
particular. Oh,
I
I know.
I
I
got
might
a.
be putting you on the spot
Well, I had a good one with my buddy, and majority's hunting stories are gonna be
with Dink.
like I'm gonna say Kentucky, but I got so many of them. God
Yeah.
Almighty! Because my hunting started in New Jersey. I hunted New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Missouri,
South
Kentucky,
Carolina.
Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina. So I do, and the only cool part about it, and it's just like, so I do have a bunch. And I mean, I guess before I even get into my stories, on this one, I'm not going to talk about a story more about friends who let me hunt,
Okay.
and that's where the stories will evolve from because all them states I just said is because somebody obviously let me hunt it, and I'm not the type of person to pay for a hunt, and I know it's hard in this day and age, but every one of a friend of mine, Jimmy, who had a couple hundred acres in South Carolina, man, I had free range to that thing. I killed some deer on his land. Obviously, I've talked about my buddy in Kentucky. I've been doing that for 30, I'm going with in 30 or 31 years. I mean, and you'll see these deer that, between what I'll get and my buddies will get that are coming and Dink. I mean, and that's where I guess these stories
Yeah.
obviously are
I
going
mean,
to go.
the best story is gonna be once you get to Kentucky. You gotta do a podcast in Dink's garage.
Yeah, and you'll get to see firsthand,
Yeah.
what it's all about. And we are not. You'll see some really, really good deer, and we are not trophy hunters by any means. We are true hunters. And I mean, but luckily, even that deer that's up here over my shoulder, that's a Kentucky deer.
You can't really see
And
it on here, but
yeah, it's just it's an 11 pointer. I mean, it should be a 12, but and that's where the stories will come from because people let you do it and you have to. I mean, and it's getting harder and harder because the people that do want stories now have to pay for them, and it's kind of, to me it kind of sucks, but such is life. It's how hunting is going, but that's why, like, I'll get my stories more or less in order. So when
yeah.
I tell you about
Okay.
and people that know me will say, God, I remember that story, or somebody will say, and they're true. I mean, I might blow them up a little bit, I mean, God, I get so excited about them, but they're true, and it's basically the way it happened, and I guess I live by Murphy's law, by what could happen has happened, and it's exciting because I love relaying it to other people because when I'm telling the stories, man, I see people, they're bright eyed. And they're like, are you serious? I said, the hand of God. I mean, I have no reason to lie. It's only a hunting story. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not the type of, I don't have Boone and Crockett, so I'm not going to say, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I killed old Mossy Horns.
Yeah. Because where's he at? On the wall then?
Yeah, yeah. Then I'm telling you just about average deer, and how exciting they were to get. And to a lot of guys out there, that's what I'm telling you. Don't miss out on that. I mean, I hear guys telling me, oh, I was waiting for this one. And what happened? Well, he never showed up. And yeah, my season kind of sucked. Well, you kind of ruined your own story because you could have made it exciting.
Basically, what you're kind of getting at is our whole philosophy on the trophy's icing on the cake. The hunt should be the story. The hunt is what
Yeah,
it's about. The
yeah,
trophy's just
exactly.
part of it.
Exactly.
But if you didn't
So,
kill a big one, it didn't mean your hunt was a failure. If you didn't have a good time and you don't have a story, your hunt was a failure. I don't care if you did
exactly.
kill a big one.
Exactly.
If you stepped
I
out of
mean,
the truck and blasted a 190 class, that's a failure in my book.
yeah, because it really. I mean, I had a buddy of mine, real quick, John, that hunts with us in Kentucky. A buddy of mine from South Carolina, and he. I remember one time him and I were talking, and I was showing him pictures, and he goes, "The cool part about your hunt, everybody's laughing." He said,
Hmm.
"Alan, look at some of my hunts. I mean, there's a lot of money invested in these things, and I mean, even though he had the money and everything, I don't care who you are, unless you're, the ultra rich or whatever. I mean, you're starting to put a lot of money into something. That comes to play. That deer's running around with a price tag on his head, and it kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah.
You're like,
And
so,
I just kind of thought too, what we'll start doing for the hunting stories at the end is we'll get pictures, because you got pictures, I'm sure, of all these deer.
yeah,
And we'll just get a
yeah,
picture ready, and we'll pull that up, and then we'll tell the story of that deer, basically. That'd probably be pretty cool.
yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that'll
Yeah,
work out better. At least that
yeah.
way we can keep, and, so I don't,
Tell the same
mix up
thing.
my story,
Yeah, exactly.
talking about a deer with a different story.
And it'll be pretty cool, because people get to see it.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Oh, God. Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, so here, this is basically episode 1, Against the Grain. We'll keep this going. We're trying to do one every week, if not maybe a little
Yeah.
more often. We'd like to start maybe streaming them live on Facebook. Like, we'll get that set up. But if you like it, leave a like, subscribe, do all those type things. Leave a comment, ask any questions you'd like us to get to. And if you want to be a
Yeah.
guest on here, leave a comment or shoot us a message.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. And, on top of everything else, like I always say, keep chasing the dream because that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see in
Okay.
2 weeks when you're in Kentucky. We'll be hopefully getting some
Yeah.
good videos.
That's when this thing is going to be, hopefully really kicked up a notch.
Yeah, well, cool.
Okay, Hunter.
Yeah.
Good luck. DAKY Whitetails. Keep chasing the dream.